My name is Sarah Thompson, and for as long as I can remember, gardening has been my therapy. I don't drink, I don't party, and I don't travel much. I plant tomatoes, basil, lettuce, zucchini, you name it. Watching things grow gives me peace. So when I moved into the Willow Creek subdivision, the first thing I did was turn a corner of my front yard into a small vegetable patch. Nothing fancy, just 4 raised wooden beds, some trellises for tomatoes, and a little handmade sign that said, "Fresh veggies free to neighbors." For 2 years, no one complained. In fact, people loved it. Kids would come pick cherry tomatoes on their way to school, and elderly neighbors stopped by to grab fresh herbs. It made the neighborhood feel alive. But that peace didn't last long. One hot July morning, I walked out to water my plants and found a bright yellow envelope taped to my mailbox. Notice of violation, unauthorized landscaping. At first, I laughed. I thought it was a joke, but then I saw the fine amount, $250, and a note in bold. Remove all non-approved vegetation from your front yard within 10 days to maintain community aesthetic standards. My stomach dropped. I called the HOA office immediately. A woman named Karen, yes, her name was actually Karen, answered in a tone that made it sound like I'd vandalized city property. "Mrs. Thompson, vegetable gardens are considered agricultural use, and front yard agriculture is not allowed under Willow Creek policy." I said, "Karen, these vegetables feed people. They don't hurt anyone." She replied flatly, "Rules are rules. You may have ornamental plants, but not edible ones." That phrase stuck in my head. You may have ornamental plants, but not edible ones. They wanted fake beauty instead of real goodness. I spent that night walking through my garden, heartbroken. Those plants weren't just vegetables, they were memories. My late husband had built the first raised bed with me. My son had planted the first cucumber seed when he was 5. But as I stood there, I realized something. If they wanted a fight, they'd get one. The next morning, I started researching. I found a little-known city ordinance, Section 12.04, that encouraged community gardening initiatives to promote local sustainability. It didn't override HOA rules directly, but it offered a loophole. If a garden is registered as a community project or donation site, it's considered public benefit property. That's when the idea hit me. I wasn't just going to save my garden. I was going to make it bigger and make it unstoppable. I called a few friends, posted in a local Facebook group, and within a week, volunteers started showing up. We expanded the garden from 4 beds to 12, turning nearly my whole front yard into green space. I registered it with the city as the Willow Creek Community Garden. We started donating baskets of fresh produce every Saturday to the local food pantry. Neighbors who had never even spoken to me before started stopping by. "Can I help plant something? Can I bring seeds? Can my kids volunteer?" It was beautiful. Except, of course, to the HOA. The next letter came fast. "Cease and desist, unauthorized expansion of prior violation. Additional fines, $500. This time, I didn't call. I printed out my city registration papers and mailed copies directly to the HOA board, along with a note. "Dear board members, the Willow Creek Community Garden is now registered with the city as a public donation project. Per Section 12.04, it is exempt from aesthetic restrictions under community benefit status. You are welcome to visit, preferably with an empty stomach." I sent it certified mail. A week later, 3 HOA board members showed up in person, clipboards in hand, confusion on their faces. Karen spoke first. "Mrs. Thompson, this isn't what we meant by community engagement." I smiled. "Well, it's what the city meant." They looked around at the rows of vegetables, the kids watering plants, and the little chalkboard that said, "Free produce for all." Then one of the board members whispered, "It's actually kind of beautiful." Karen shot him a look sharp enough to cut through steel. "We'll be reviewing this," she said coldly and walked away. 2 days later, my story hit the local news. HOA tries to shut down woman's vegetable garden. She turns it into a food bank instead. The camera crew filmed me handing a basket of fresh vegetables to a local family. When the reporter asked why I didn't just give up, I said, "Because beauty shouldn't just be something we look at, it should be something that feeds people." The story went viral overnight. Within a week, dozens of volunteers showed up with plants, soil, and tools. The city mayor even visited and officially declared it a neighborhood sustainability site. The HOA didn't stand a chance. Their inbox was flooded with angry emails from residents and city officials. One council member even wrote a letter reminding them that blocking community food initiatives could violate public welfare laws. The next HOA meeting was packed with residents, and not one person supported them. By the end of that meeting, the board voted unanimously to rescind all fines and update their landscaping policy to allow vegetable gardens in front yards. Karen didn't even show up. That spring, the garden tripled in size. We added compost bins, rain barrels, and even a little wooden bench engraved with the words, "Planted by the people, for the people." Now every Saturday morning, families come by to pick fresh produce, chat with neighbors, and laugh under the sun. Kids learn where food really comes from. Elderly neighbors sit on the bench, sharing stories. And every time I look at the garden, I see more than vegetables. I see what happens when people grow together. A year later, the city awarded me a plaque for outstanding community service and environmental impact. When the local paper interviewed me again, they asked what I'd say to the HOA if I could go back. I smiled and said, "I'd thank them. If they hadn't tried to tear my garden down, I'd never have built something that feeds hundreds of people." Now, when I walk outside and see the rows of tomatoes glowing in the sun, I can't help but laugh a little. The same place where I once got fined for unauthorized landscaping is now listed on the city website as a model neighborhood project. And as the saying goes, you can't stop something that's meant to grow.